Welcome to the Seniors Rock Show, presented by the Law Office of Michael Robinson, PC, on News Radio, Wham 1180. The Seniors Rock Show, a lively weekly discussion shining a bright light on aging with fun, entertainment, and important info for all adults. Join in with your comments or questions. Call or text 222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. Now from the News Radio Wham 1180 studio in downtown Rochester, here's your host, Joanna Palvino.
Welcome. We've got a special hour planned for you today. It is the season after all. And Mike will continue with your basics of estate planning. And then stay tuned, folks, because we have an inspiring story of retired pharmacist Kim Tenreiro. He has a one-man show of the Charles Dickens classic, A Christmas Carol. It's very interesting, and you might want to go see it. So Kim will join us to tell us his story and why he donates the proceeds of every performance to charity. That's incredible. Mike, you've been generous yourself in sharing estate planning advice with us every week, so thanks for that. And, you've spent decades practicing law, so it's very nice of you to do that. And thank you for giving us the cliff notes of those things, because I know how complicated it can be. So what is the lesson today, Mike?
Hey, good afternoon and happy Saturday. I hope that the tryptophan is out of your system and you're able to stay awake here for the rest of the show.
I'll try.
All right, very good. And I'm gonna try to not put anybody asleep here. But you're right. We're going to continue with our series on the basics of estate planning, and we're at number 14 today. Hard to believe, and we're going to continue our look at living trusts. So in our last episode, we saw the benefits of a living trust during lifetime. And today we're going to begin looking at the benefits of a living trust after death. Now, some of our listeners might be wondering, Mike, how can it be called a living trust if the creator has died? Well, remember, the term living trust simply means that the trust was created during lifetime. But the trust can continue for generations after the creator has died, and that fact leads to one of the most significant benefits of a living trust. It avoids probate when the creator dies.
Okay. It took me a while to understand probate. I didn't even tell you I didn't understand it in the beginning, but, you've talked about probate many times. It takes a while to understand. Tell the listeners what it is, please.
Sure. And very briefly, probate is the court proceeding that is required when you pass on your assets at death using a will. And it tends to take a long time. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. It can be quite stressful for the family, and it's expensive. And Joanna, that's when everyone in the family is a healthy adult and everyone gets along. If we have disputes within the family, we have an incapacitated person in the family, maybe someone who's under age 18 involved, all of those problems are exacerbated, which is why people look for ways to avoid probate if they can. Now, in past episodes, we've examined the strategies people use to try to avoid probate, including owning property in joint tenancy, using transfer on death designations, and using beneficiary designations. And we've also looked at the shortcomings of each of those strategies. A living trust, Joanna, not only avoids probate, it does so without the shortcomings and limitations of those other strategies.
Okay. So how does a living trust avoid probate? How does that happen?
Gotcha. So remember, probate is required when you own an asset in your own name and you are using a will to pass on that asset when you die. As we discussed last week when we examined the benefits of a living trust during lifetime, when you hold your assets in a living trust, your trust, and not you as an individual, holds title to the property. So when you die, there is no asset in your name that has to pass under your will. Instead, your trust continues to hold legal title to your assets. So even though you have died, your trust continues in existence for whatever time period you specified in your trust document. So the legal owner still exists, the trusts. There's just a different person managing the trust now that you have died. And that is a person you choose. and now they serve as what we call the successor trustee.
I see. So because the legal owner, which is the trust, hasn't died, there's no need for any court proceedings.
Exactly. The successor trustee has complete authority under the terms of the trust document to manage and disperse assets as the trust document directs. And that's important. You know, the trustee has control and is the legal owner of the assets, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily the beneficial owner of the assets. The successor trustee has a fiduciary duty to follow your instructions in the trust and to manage and disperse the assets exactly the way that that you have specified. And so that fact is what leads to the other advantages of a living trust after death. And we're going to take a look at those other advantages beginning in our next episode.
And will that be after the holidays, do you think? Or I guess we could do that next week. I mean, we have a jam-packed schedule coming up, but
we do. But I'm prepared to keep us going right up into to Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa and everything else that's going on later on in December.
Yeah, excellent. And that'll be number 15. I can't believe we've done this many. And you are giving us a great education every week. Can folks go to mrobinsonlaw.com to the website? Do you have some of this information there, maybe in a little bit different context, but
yes,
is that a place they can go if they want to refresh some of this?
Absolutely. We've got a lot of great information on the website. It's free. So people are welcome. We put it up there for a reason, because we do want to educate the community. So absolutely feel free to log on at mrobinsonlaw.com. Easy to navigate, so a lot of good information there.
Yeah, I don't know how you remember it all. I really don't. You're fascinating me, just like the guest that we have today. That he memorized the whole Christmas Carol play and movie, or whatever you want to call it. Book, I guess, was the original thing. And so for you to do all of these things and to have had the experience of over decades. How many now? Almost 4.
We're getting close to 4,
Yeah, 4 decades of information, folks, that you can access for free at mrobinsonlaw.com. And, of course, we're live here. Today we're not. This is a holiday show, and nobody wanted to actually go into the studio. But we hope you're enjoying this and that you will reach out when we are live on every Saturday from noon till 1 and enjoy what we bring to you, and maybe ask some questions or give us some direction, too, of things that might be of interest to you.
All right. And, so more good stuff coming up with Kim Tenreiro. And, folks, stay tuned. You're really going to want to hear Kim's story. And you're listening to the Seniors Rock Show here on News Radio Wham 1180. The holiday season is a natural time for families to gather together, which also makes it a natural time to talk about your estate plan with your loved ones. This holiday season, give the gift of peace of mind. At the Law Office of Michael Robinson, we'll show you how easy it is to create a custom-crafted estate plan that gives you and your loved ones peace of mind now and into the future. Visit us at mrobinsonlaw.com. That's mrobinsonlaw.com. And welcome back. You're listening to Seniors Rock Radio. I'm attorney Mike Robinson here with Joanna Pelvino, and our guest now is someone who lives in the holiday spirit all year long. Kim Tenreiro is the creator of his own one-man performance of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Kim is a retired pharmacist whose performances have been benefiting nonprofit organizations for over 13 years. His shows have raised over $128,000 for community charities. Thanks for being here, Kim.
Oh, it's greatly my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It is so exciting to hear this story, and I'm waiting to share this with the listener. So let's start, Kim. Tell us what inspired you to do a one-man show of A Christmas Carol.
Well, quite honestly, I saw Patrick Stewart do this on Broadway in 1991 and purchased the CD of his performance. And every Thanksgiving, my wife and I would listen to Act 1 as we'd go to my brother's house and Act 2 on the way back from Thanksgiving. And every year I'd listen to that thing and I'd say, I could do that. I think I could do that because I have a pretty good memory. But it took me a while to figure out, why would you do that? I mean, I knew I could, but I needed a good reason why. And finally occurred to me that I could do this to potentially raise money for charities more so than I could afford to donate myself.
Wow.
So, and from that point on, it was all systems go. Let's go for it.
Interesting. And how, I mean, it's not a long book, but it's also not a short book. How did you manage to memorize A Christmas Carol and all of the character lines? And I mean, there's quite a few characters there.
Yeah, I kind of lose count myself. I think there's over 30. But the how was basically reducing it down to index cards. And every night prior to bed, I'd have a paragraph I'd try to memorize and practice the previous day's paragraph, memorize today's, and kind of look at the next day's, and sort of string them together like a string of pearls. And you do it often enough, and it becomes automatic at this point.
Sure.
It is fascinating. And tell the folks how many lines or words there are in this entire performance.
Well, the book itself has just over 25,000 words, of which I do 15,000.
Wow. And do you have a favorite character? I have to ask that.
I do have a favorite character. It's the Ghost of Christmas Present. He gets a little preachy at times, but he has a lot of very, very wonderful life lessons in his commentary.
Very good. And can you do a couple of lines for us, perhaps?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask that, so I kind of thought about, well, what segment should I pick? Now, the main character, quite honestly, is the narrator. The narrator has the most lines. But so I have a little section where the narrator is going to talk about Scrooge with the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Mm-hmm. And Scrooge doesn't know that he's potentially dead at this point, and he doesn't really understand what's going on. But so the narrator begins with, and now they entered the busy scene. They scarcely seemed to enter the city, but there they were in the heart of it, amongst the merchants who hurried up and down and chinked the money in their pockets and conversed in groups and looked at their watches as Scrooge had seen them often. The ghost stopped before one little knot of businessmen. Observing that the hand was pointed towards them, Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk. "No, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead." "When did he die?" "Last night, I believe." "Why, what was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die." "God knows." "What's he done with his money?" "Haven't heard. Left it to his company, perhaps. He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know." "Well, it's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life I can't imagine anyone to go to it. Suppose we make up a party and volunteer." "Well, I don't mind going if a lunch is provided, but I must be fed if I make one. Bye, bye, bye."
That is
That's
awesome.
yeah.
I want to clap here. That was Kim Tenreiro, and he was doing all of those voices. He does a one-man show of A Christmas Carol, if you're just tuning in, and it is really fascinating. He has this whole thing down. He wasn't looking at anything, folks. That was all from memory. So that alone is pretty impressive. And I guess I'd like to ask you too, Kim, what do people say when they see the show? What do they say they take away from your performances?
Well, it's all over the map. And quite honestly, when I first started doing this, I had people move to tears. And I thought it was because I'd done a bad job. But I actually asked some folks about, what to expect from an audience. And I used to be on the board at Jiva Theater, so I have access to very experienced people. And they said you have to let the audience experience their own experience. And sometimes they cry, and sometimes they laugh, and more often than not, though, it kickstarts their holiday season, especially if we do it early in the season, like we are now. So there's a lot of joy, and the concept of redemption really sticks with people as part of the story. And there's many other lessons in the thing. I always think it would make great sermon material for anyone who wanted to dial into any particular part of it. But
Great show to bring kids to. Yeah, it's. I've been to the Jiva performances many times. Amazing. This is my first one-man show, though.
well, I will say the thing about children, because of its old-timey English, it's a little above the average vocabulary level of anyone, let's say, 7th grade or younger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, 5-year-olds get fidgety in my show.
I can see why. That's funny. But the older kids are going to learn for sure. I made my kids go to this to see the Christmas Carol at Jiva, actually. And like you said, it brings back a lot of memories for me, and it gets you in the spirit, for sure. Mike?
Yeah, no, it's a great it's a great story. It's a timeless story, and I've got a question for you, Kim. And you're not prepared for this, but there have been so many film versions of A Christmas Carol. Do you have a favorite?
I do. The Alistair Sim version from the early 50s is my favorite. In fact, so much so that I've injected one line from that movie version in the show just because it means something to me.
Sure. Now I have to ask you what line.
I was going to say, don't tell them. You have to come to the show.
No, when he's redeemed and he goes to his nephew's house for dinner, and they're surprised to see him, and he says, "Can you forgive this pig-headed old fool for having no eyes to see with, nor ears to hear all these years?"
A great line, and that's my favorite version as well. So, hey, folks, stay with us. We're going to be back with Kim here after the news break. You're listening to the Seniors Rock Show on News Radio Wham 1180.
When you've lost movement, flexibility, strength, or balance, traveling a long distance for physical therapy seems like a bad decision. That's why Agape Physical Therapy has a convenient location near you, east side or west side. And there's a new location in Pittsford with Aqua Therapy. Let Agape Physical Therapy and wellness professionals customize a treatment program for you to help you recover quickly. Visit agapephysicaltherapy.com and schedule your free consultation today. No doctor referral needed. Welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation now with Kim Tenreiro, who portrays every character and speaks every line in the classic from Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. He has a one-man show, and it's coming to a lot of locations in our area, including Hilton, Pulteneyville, Avon, Newark, and Canandaigua. And I want to hear more.
Yeah, same here. So, Kim, I understand you'll travel pretty much anywhere within an hour's drive from where you live in Canandaigua. Do you have any stories about your travels to share?
Well, yeah, sure. Actually, I've done it in Anchorage and in Denver.
No kidding.
But that's only because I had friends who invited me to. But I remember doing a show at Keuka College in the chapel there. And I guess they have a sizable sign language curriculum for their students. So I was doing the show while the sign language students were in the balcony in the back signing as practice.
Sure.
So it was very interesting for me to see someone else doing their practice while I'm doing the show live. That was pretty cool.
Repeating your words with their hands. That's pretty
easy,
amazing.
And not so easy to do with old-time English of 180 years ago.
Absolutely, yeah. And we were at a play the other night for my grandson Tyler. They did Clue at Webster, and in Webster at their high school, and they had two signers, which I thought was very interesting because they were, there was people watching them, obviously, and you could tell that they were carrying on the conversations together. I'd never seen that before, so it's fascinating. And I wanted to ask you too. We talked about what people take away from your performances, Kim. How do you benefit? I mean, what do you feel when you leave?
Well, there's a section where Scrooge's nephew speaks about Scrooge taking into his head that he dislikes them. And he says, "Who suffers from his ill whims? Himself always." Here he takes it into his head to dislike us. I feel sorry for him. And for me, I think about all the people that I might encounter at any given time who are, maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe they're just kind of crusty and mean-spirited to begin with. And I become very patient and tolerant with that. I feel that they get to live with themselves 24/7, and I get to escape after my short interaction with them. So that's just like one of the many virtues of doing the show is it reinforces my patience with humanity, and that people are, they're their own worst enemies a lot of the time.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Great takeaway. Kim, anything else you'd like to share about your story or plans for the future? Maybe eyeing some other plays to perform?
I get that question a lot. And actually, Dickens wrote 4 other Christmas-themed novellas after Christmas Carol. And I've looked at all of them, but they don't lend themselves as nicely to a theatrical rendition. They're more just narration being told. And so the short answer to your question is no, I'm not. I toyed with, Tale of Two Cities, but it's a bit long.
There you go.
And the way you memorized it was quite interesting to me, too, when you talked about using the index cards. And, when I first heard about this, I thought, wow, this guy must have the most incredible memory. You do, but you kept repeating with the index cards. It reminds me of my flashcards from way back when I was a kid, and my aunt with the multiplication. Yeah, the tables. I remember her saying that in her Scottish accent.
Absolutely true. And people ask me about, do I have to rehearse? And I say, what's 5 times 5? Well, you didn't even think about it. It's in
right.
that. In fact, I can recite and do the crossword at the same time because they're 2 different areas of the brain at this point.
Wow, that is interesting. And Kim, this is something that you're bringing to a lot of areas. I mentioned some of them. Can you tell folks where they can find out where you're going to be and what time and that kind of thing?
The easiest way would be to just send me an email, and I'll happy to send the full schedule. My email is kimschristmascarol@gmail.com.
Oh, that's
no
easy.
apostrophes or anything, no capitalization, just kimschristmascarol@gmail.com.
Excellent. And you've been doing this for how many years?
This is 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you have a memory of your favorite show?
Well, the last one is always my favorite show.
There you
go. Anchorage was pretty special because it brought together a Rotary Club as well as a church, and they had a fairly wide reach. And I ended up having about 150 people in the audience that night, which was nice to have a huge audience.
Wow.
I've done it for as little as 4, which is not a whole lot of fun because, quite honestly, you derive energy from the audience reaction. So the better the audience, the more energized the performance is.
Interesting. I love that. And there was one other thing I was going to ask. Mike, do you have any questions?
I was curious, how many performances do you do each year?
Well, this year is a little short. We're doing only 10. I normally do 14-ish. And
Okay.
I start the weekend before Thanksgiving, and I'll go right up until Christmas Eve. But people's schedules get very hectic that last week, and it starts to other things intrude on their lives, and going out to see Christmas Carol is not necessarily their highest priority.
Sure. And how long does the show run?
Well, technically it's 2 acts of about an hour apiece. There's an intermission, but I also do a prologue, very much like what they do at Jiva, where if you come early, I talk about Dickens' life and some of the backstory of what's going on in Christmas Carol. Where did characters come from? How did Scrooge get his name? I mean, just some interesting tidbits and trivia.
Neat.
Yeah.
So there's an additional 35 minutes of prologue available.
Gotcha.
That's excellent, because I like it when you can ask questions or watch other people ask the questions you may not have even thought about.
Yeah.
It makes it really interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And I bet in Anchorage you had a lot of snow. That must have put you in the mood, too.
Anchorage is not that different from Rochester
Really?
weather-wise.
That's frightening.
The length, yeah, no, well, I don't know the weather pattern is, but the length of the day is a lot shorter because they're more north. But their winter is 20s and 30s and snowy.
Yeah, it is like us. Except for Santa's a little closer when you go there.
That's right. You
Well-
get first dibs.
Well, my friend has moose eat the pumpkins off her porch, so then you have to watch them. In downtown Anchorage, you could hit moose.
Oh,
so.
yeah, and those things are huge.
You don't want to hit them.
We have our pumpkins ready to go to the woods. We take them and we smash them and put them in the woods, too, for the animals.
Yeah.
And I like that part of that. And anything else you'd like to share? Do you have like a gift certificate if someone wants to gift your show?
Well, the way I do this is I basically offer it to the charity,
That's
and
right.
I let them pick the venue and figure out how much they want to charge for the show, and they reach out to their constituency because, quite honestly, I don't know anybody in Pulteneyville.
Right.
So
if someone's interested in having you come to one of their organizations or to do the play for them, will you still take on this year or more, or no?
I have some openings.
Okay.
They're lesser desirable. That typically weeknight openings are tough for families to deal with. But yeah, I do have openings, and I'll be happy to talk to anyone who would
Tell
like.
them your email one more time.
Kim'sChristmasCarol@gmail.com.
Very good. I want to thank you for being with us today, Kim, and thank you for all you're doing for charities all over this area. It's terrific. For all these years, you are a selfless man, and that really puts me in the holiday mood because that's what it's all about. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Hope to see you at a show.
Can you do Tiny Tim and take us out?
More Seniors Rock Radio after these messages on News Radio Wham 1180.
Perfect. Perfect.
I love it. Thank you.
Effortlessly healthy meals are fresh, fully prepared, ready to eat, and hand-delivered. As a senior, I appreciate the 10% discount, and I love the never-frozen big variety of heart-healthy meals I get to choose from each week. Effortlessly Healthy is locally owned. Meals are perfect to send to a senior loved one. Just heat and eat. Effortlessly Healthy, delicious food, convenience, and a 10% senior discount. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay home. ehmeals.com, ehmeals.com, 585-254-0078.
And welcome back to the Seniors Rock Show. And Joanna, what a great show to get us into the holiday spirit. Kim was a great guest and just fascinating what he's doing. And there's so many festivities to look forward to. If we just look around, so much going on in the Rochester area. And I'm looking forward to the next few weeks here on the show as we wind down the year, reflect a little bit on the past, and look toward the future. And thankful for you and the show and for so many things as we celebrate Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, that's so nice. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to host this show, Mike, every week and bring important information with you and entertainment to our listeners as well. And like today, I'm grateful for your participation and for your support of the show. Michael Robinson is the presenting sponsor, or Mike, as we call him here, for all of the sponsors that join us each Saturday. I'm very thankful because without them, there wouldn't be a show. And, I learned so much from all of you, Mike, and all of the sponsors that bring information. I mean, recently we had someone here from Agape talking about fall prevention in the winter and things that are really timely, as well as, again, the entertainment element that we bring so that people remember that socializing is important, not just in the holidays, but all the time. And so there are many good things behind the scenes in organizations, too, that are happening. And I want to mention Grape and Lifespan and the things that they do. There's a lot of dedicated professionals out there working on behalf of older adults and their families. And, of course, I won't stop at the listeners, and you are why we're here, really. I mean, we're really thankful for you, and please know how much your thoughtful notes and suggestions and feedback mean to us. And we get them through the show when we're live and also through seniorsrockradio.com. I've gotten a lot of emails lately, so it means a lot to us, and we do read them all, and we try to get back to everybody. So please know that those things are fueling our work, and you are why we're here.
Indeed. And hey, Joanna, so I've got a question for you. I asked Kim what was his favorite movie version of A Christmas Carol. Do you have a favorite?
No. I watch anything that's on.
There you go. There you go. Well,
No, but I do like watching those things at the holidays, And even like, what's another one? The Sound of Music. I love to watch that in the winter. I don't know why. It just brings back memories, different memories.
Sure. No, I as I said to Kim, I agree with him. I think the Alistair Sim version, that's certainly my favorite. The Muppet Christmas Carol comes in second.
I love it. That's funny too. And yeah, isn't it something? The Wizard of Oz. It brings me back. I mean, talk about the scary things in A Christmas Carol. There are a couple of scary scenes there. Also, when I see the Wizard of Oz, I think about, when I see the witch, it still scares me. It's funny how those things are embedded in our brains, and I hope the things that we're bringing to you folks also stay with you. And if there's anything you'd like to hear about, you can go to seniorsrockradio.com anytime, 24/7, and send us a note on the contact page. And I'll mention, if you just started listening, you can hear our past shows there too. So please feel free. And I hope you'll join us next Saturday too, because we have a fun-filled hour coming up. Mike, I have a game planned.
Aha.
I know I like to stump you and Pam, so we're going to play a game called A Wonderful World. And you could win. Pam might win, or maybe one of our listeners will win.
Aha.
And I have a prize. I'm not going to say what it is. You'll have to come back next week and be listening, because we're going to do that. And I think another thing, Mike and I have been talking a lot about is ageism. So one of these days, we're going to weave that into the show. I think it's important that we remember, ourselves and when we're listening to other people, to be correct and not to lump people together because of their age, especially over 60. Because all of a sudden, it seems when you get over 60, you're old. Nobody ever lumps together people, the 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds. They're all different. But remember, folks, we're different too, and we all bring something to the table. And Mike, you bring a lot to the table here with estate planning and with other things too. You have a nice background in some of the other arts, like poetry. Tell the folks what you took in college.
Well, I think you might be referring to the Beowulf translation that
Yes.
that I did from the Anglo-Saxon, and there's a lot of good literature out there.
What led you to do that? I couldn't even pronounce it when you first told me.
I don't even remember why. It's just something that fascinated me. The story itself, but the history behind it, and just the history of the English language. I think that's probably what first captured me is the Anglo-Saxon becoming Old English, becoming Middle English, etc., and just sort of following that line. And then, that just led me to really go a little bit deeper, really back to the real origins of our English language. And gosh, all kinds of Anglo-Saxon poetry and, elegies. And I don't know, it just fascinated me. So I decided to do that.
Oh, you're a Renaissance man. Come on. Yeah, we know it. And, it's good to have different interests. And if you do that, you can open up your mind, whether it's reading or listening to plays or watching a movie. Just get up and keep moving, do things that are important to you, or maybe just try new things. There's never a time to stop doing that, right, Mike? I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can learn things.
Exactly. You're living until you're not. And so absolutely learn new things. It keeps life vital and keeps it interesting. There's no reason to slow down with your learning just because you may be advancing in years, and that's something that I try to remember, and hopefully I've instilled in my children.
Very nice. And, I came across something. I'm going to do a quote now from Jane Goodall. I thought it was quite appropriate. And this is a good time to say it right now, I think. And Jane Goodall said, "You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of a difference you want to make." So that's a good thing to think about. We usually wait till New Year's Eve to make promises to ourselves. I think this is something to live by every day and make a difference in the world and to those around you. And I hope that we do that here on the show, and that you'll come back next week, and we'll be here at noon like we are every Saturday. And let us know if you're enjoying the program. And if you do, please tell your friends about us, because we're trying to reach as many people as we can here on Seniors Rock Radio. And finally, we'd like to remind everybody that age is just a stage. So take the stage and enjoy it. Get up there and show them that seniors rock.
Our area's first direct primary care practice, Athena Direct Primary Care and Lifestyle Medicine, is open. Direct primary care is an innovative alternative to traditional corporate-style primary care, where you pay a monthly membership fee. There are no fee-for-service payments, no third-party billing. So less paperwork leaves time for extraordinary direct access to your own private physician, a members-only phone line, and unlimited, unhurried appointments. And other services are included too. That's all for one low rate. Athena Direct Primary Care is accepting new patients for a limited time only. Book your free meet and greet with Dr. Laura Petrescu today. Learn about this wonderful new practice, including membership benefits and the costs, at AthenaDirectCare.com. That's AthenaDirectCare.com. Or you can call. It's 585-662-5510.